Hello,
Alright.
everyone. Uh, Welcome to our premiere episode of the AWS GenAI Developer Hour. So our motto is build smarter, not harder. I'll kick it off with some intros. So my name is Ria Dani. I'm a solutions architect here at AWS, based out of New York City. I've been here for about 3 years now, and my specialty area is in the area of AI and DevOps. And I'll be your host for this, exciting new monthly series. And now I'll pass it to my co-host.
Thanks, Ria. Hi, everyone. I'm Michael Walter. I'm a senior solutions architect here at AWS as well. I'm actually on Ria's same team. We focus mainly on large enterprise customers in the advertising and marketing technology industry. But I'm very happy to be here. It's really great to do this show together. We'll be co-hosting monthly here. So yeah, thanks for that, Ria.
We are both based out of New York City. So one pitch that I do want to let out is we do have the AWS New York City Summit this week. So if you're in the area, it's a free event. We have workshops that we host, a bunch of speakers and everything. So it'd be great for you all to check it out. But enough of that. I want to talk a little bit about this monthly series. So we're launching this monthly, and the point of it is to explore, how AWS GenAI tools can help accelerate application development. So we'll go through a series of different live coding demos. We'll be live coding with, the members here on the show, and we want to make this as interactive as possible. So if you have any comments or anything in the chat that you'd like to put in, we'd love to hear from you all. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, today's episode, we're going to be kind of basically doing a little role playing. We're going to transform some requirements into reality. That's kind of the idea of the show. We'll be using all of our favorite tools. So we'll be checking out Q Developer. I think Ria might be exploring Cura, which was launched just yesterday, which is kind of awesome. And we have a guest. So I'm going to bring our guest on the screen here today. So hang on one second.
All right.
Yeah. You're on. Let me unmute you. There you are. Hey, Debasis, how are you?
Hey, Micah. Hey, Ria. I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Great.
Good. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Debashis Rath. I'm a specialist solution architect. I focus on serverless technology, which is serverless compute as well as integration services. And I'm super excited to join you today to explore more about how to build our first GenAI application on serverless.
Awesome. No, thanks for hopping on, Debasis. We really appreciate it. Before we kick it off with some of the role-playing scenarios, and before we dive, too deep, I'm curious to know if everyone can, say hello in the chat and maybe share where you're joining in from. That would be amazing. Debasis, where are you based out of?
I'm based out of Herndon, Virginia. It's a small town outside Washington, D.C., say 20 minutes from Washington, D.C., but really near to the IAD airport, right? So it's Washington Dulles Airport, but I'm nearby that, yeah.
So US East 1 is where you're located.
US East 1, yes, exactly that place. I didn't Yeah, I do send a bunch of different data centers here. So it's a city of data centers, I would say.
We have some folks joining in from Dallas and Ilya from New York.
Hey, Ilya. Cool.
All right. So great to hear from you all. So let's kind of dive, into this role play scenario here. So in the role play scenario, we're doing something special today. I'll be stepping into the shoes of a product manager. So I'll be presenting various business requirements and the vision for an application that my team is planning to build. And Micah, if you want to talk about.
Yep. I'm going to be an engineering manager, so I'm the boss. I'll be reviewing some code, making some issues. We'll see what Q Developer can help us with there as well.
And I will be taking the role of a lead engineer who will be responsible for writing the actual code, but I'll make somebody else to write the code. But yeah, I'll generate a bunch of code, not only code, infrastructure as a code as well. I think I'll be interacting with both Micah and Ria to take a look at how to design that system, design the code around it, to pick the right services and everything else. So I'll be the brains.
Awesome. Yeah, so our goal today really is to show like how fast you can build with these AI tools. I know I have my favorite AI tool, so I'll be talking about that. And Debasis and Micah, you all will also be able to share what what your favorite tools are and your favorite ways to interact with them. So that's going to be really interesting. And so now I'm going to put my product hat on. So the challenge is that I want to build an AI powered coffee shop finder app that lets users find different local cafes in Manhattan because that's where I'm based. And we want to have functionality where we're able to filter out major chains, maybe like super popular ones like Starbucks. We want to focus more on like local cafes and I want to see, I want to work with you all to understand how fast I can, build this. I'd love to learn more.
Sure. I mean, with that, like if we want to dive a little bit into uh, the application itself, how are you envisioning it? Is it like a chatbot, non-chatbot? How do you want it?
Yeah, a chatbot would be great. Like in terms of like the user perspective, I want it to be so someone opens up, a web app or a mobile app, enters their location for today. We'll focus on like Manhattan, New York City, um,
Mhm.
and it immediately be able to map to personalized coffee shop recs, right? And I want it to be super, you know, easy to use, great UI. Yeah. And like I guess like to kind of go into the specifics on like what type of filtering I might be looking at, maybe someone that's really into different types of espressos or someone that's looking for a study friendly or work from home friendly sort of coffee shop. So those sort of filtering um, features would be great. Um, and obviously we are planning, in this POC. I'd also love to hear more about like how this can scale and all of that. Um, so Debasis, I'd love to learn more.
Yeah, I like the idea of like personalizing a little bit. I'm just thinking, what are the different services? Probably Micah would like to see. Tell me more about Micah. Like, how do you envision this particular application?
I mean, I love serverless, so I feel like it's got to be serverless, or at least have some core serverless services in
Mhm.
there. Um, I mean, I'm always thinking about like, all right, let's build some kind of backend where we have like an API gateway, a Lambda function, some data source. But I'm open to ideas. I feel like we got some new ideas to share here today. So yeah, tell us what you think.
Absolutely, absolutely. Actually, I was scribbling a small architecture diagram for us while we are talking about it. So what I'm thinking is like we'll certainly use serverless services, API gateway as an entry point to our application. We'll provide like natural language query. That's the new way of like talking to the computers
Okay.
around the world. So we will be supplying some natural language. We'll have a middle tier on a very small compute like Lambda functions, and then we will install the agentic capability, right? So when we talk about agentic capability, basically somebody who can understand the prompt itself, the natural language query itself, then go and do some kind of reasoning, use some tools, do a little bit of action on behalf of the customer or whoever is using the particular app, and give us our result, right? So with that, let's take a look at the architecture diagram that I was trying to see over here. I drew it very like simple. Let me know if I still have to zoom it in a little bit.
We have a request for a GUI also, so we'll see if we can get to that as well.
Yes, well,
Yeah.
certainly, 100%. But yeah, so the idea is to expose an API with API gateway. I'm not going to use a lot of auth. We are doing an MVP right now, so we'll skip the authorization at this point. Not a lot of rate limiting or API key as such. That's one of the constraints that I want to discuss with you, Micah, as part of this POC as a lead engineer. So once you agree with the performance and everything else, probably we can make it better to go to production, right? So
Yeah.
other constraints are API gateway will basically invoke the Lambda function as a proxy, and we will use Python as our runtime. And we will use a specialized SDK from AWS called like Strands SDK to build our agents. Strand SDK is a simple framework that takes like a couple of different parameters. We are going to explore that as well. Basic parameters are like which LLM to use for the actual interaction with the large language models, and then what kind of tools it has to use. For Ria's query, we are going to use Amazon location service that is going to go and real time find out like different coffee shops based on the location that I'm going to provide as part of my natural language query, right? So let's say like as Ria was mentioning, let's find some coffee shops in Manhattan. So Manhattan is the keyword. So that goes into the Lambda function. The agent parses it out that Manhattan is the location where it wants to search the coffee shops, and it will use then like Amazon location service to search for those coffee shops. That's the whole idea. And we will try to design this entire application using AWS SAM as an infrastructure as code. It's a very simple shorthand notation of like CloudFormation that makes your life easier to write your serverless application and deploy them on AWS Cloud. Quickly stop here for like questions from you.
Yeah, I mean, I just have a quick question. So I see that you're using Extrans SDK. I've also heard a lot about like Bedrock agents. I'm curious to know like when would be a good opportunity to use which, because both create agents, right? So could you talk a little bit more about that and why maybe using agents here is helpful?
If you see here, right, so fundamental difference, Strand is just a framework that you're installing on AWS Lambda as a compute, right? So Strand is limited by the scalability of the Lambda compute itself. On the other hand, Bedrock Agents is a framework that it's a service, fully managed service that is hosted on AWS, right? So it is fully managed. It has its own API, own scalability, own way of like declaring designing your agent as well as the tools itself. So if you want to go like fully managed like service, like completely hands off, you'll probably try to explore Bedrock Agents as your like platform to build your agents. But if you want to control those components, build them on certain type of compute, then you will choose like Strands SDK. You can take it, install it on Lambda, Fargate, EKS, doesn't matter where you want to do it, right? So that's the basic fundamental difference. Bedrock agents are much more managed, while Strands is just a framework that will help you to build agents.
Okay, got it. No, that's great. Thank you. So would you be okay if maybe I took a screenshot of this architecture?
Go for
I'd
it.
love to, yeah, okay. So I'm gonna, all right, so if you don't mind, if I can take over screen share, I kind of want to convert this into an architecture diagram that uses, AWS icons, just so I can share this with my team. So let me set up my screen share.
We got somebody from Denver, someone from India, Ontario. Awesome. Just checking the chat here. Let's see.
All right.
Yeah.
So what I've pulled up here is my IDE that I, started using as of last week. So we actually just announced a launch of Kiro. It's essentially like an agentic IDE, and it has like integration with different models behind the scene here. For example, like Claude Sonnet, and I really use it to help me build. So one thing that I really wanted to do based off of Debasis's diagram is use an MCP server. So I just took a screenshot of his diagram here so I can convert it into using some AWS, icons. And, so what I've done is I've installed a couple of different MCP servers. Have you worked with MCP before, Micah or Debasis?
I have.
A little bit.
Okay. Yeah, I've been loving them. So like I installed a couple of different ones, and one of them was a Nova Canvas MCP server. So I was just playing around with generating various images. And I came across this one, which is like a diagram one. So it can generate diagrams or grab specific diagrams, like some example ones. So I want to try to ask Kiro here to generate a diagram with the diagram MCP based on the screenshot.
Someone in our chat would like to pivot to TypeScript right now, so
Work in progress.
we'll stick with Python for today, but maybe we'll do TypeScript next time.
Are we not doing vibe coding anymore? We are still stuck. Just joking.
So Ria, you're in Kiro.
Yeah.
And what did you just do just now?
Yeah, so I just asked Hero to read this image that I have in this folder, and it's waiting on my input. So let's trust it to run commands on behalf of myself. So right now it looks like it's reading this PNG.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, looks like your agent is using the tool. So we'll use an AI agent that is using a tool to build an AI agent that is using a tool. So that's the whole point.
So there's actually a couple of different ways to interact with, Amazon Q Developer, which is our, coding assistant that we have here. So one of them is like if you want to use it within VS Code, you can directly install an extension to call Q Developer there. So I've actually put it up on 2 different IDEs. So one of them is Kiro, but also if you haven't installed Kiro yet, I can also show you on VS Code. So let's take a look here. So hopefully you're able to see my screen, and you have Q pulled up here. So this is an extension, and you can configure various MCP servers. So like the ones that I was talking about, the diagram MCP, we have one connecting, you can connect one to your Bedrock knowledge base, Nova Canvas, so various different ones. And if I show you, there's so many different ways to interact with this tool here. So another way is through the terminal. So we have QChat CLI as well. So as it's loading up here, I can trigger it by type in QChat. And I'm going to drag the screenshot that Debasis shared. So we have it here. So I just typed up QChat, and now it's triggering Q Developer within my command line. It's setting up the various MCP servers, so we can also use natural language to have agents act on behalf of us here too.
Nice.
So, yeah.
So we have someone in the chat, Rahul Sharma, looks like, says they believe we can use AWS MCP integrated with Draw.io to create architecture diagrams. That's cool. I didn't know that. Awesome.
And for audience, like if you haven't worked with MCP, it just provides additional capability for your agents, be it like an agent that you're designing or agents, pre-built agents like Amazon Q, Kiro, and everybody else to do additional stuff. For example, the way Rahul mentioned, it'll allow Amazon Q or Klein as a coding assistant agent to take a look at picture and draw pretty AWS architecture diagrams.
Nice. So Ria, it's a little small, but what's going on your screen there?
So let me try to increase the size here.
Oh, it did something. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's going on here is I just gave it a prompt, right? Like generate a diagram based on the screenshot that I put in the folder, use the diagram MCP server. So it's reading my directory here. It says it found a screenshot. It's examining it. And it understands what exactly it is, right? So it's added additional arguments in here, and then now it looks like it generated. So it's showing that this diagram shows the Strands SDK component, the API gateway, all of that. So let's take a look at how it looks like.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Hopefully you can see this well, but I understood that it's a coffee shop finder architecture.
Yep.
Does this look accurate to you based on the requirements I provided?
Yep.
Okay.
Looks pretty good.
All right, so I'm going to ask you to push this diagram to GitHub repo. So yeah, now instead of me having to run through commands, I can just type in natural language to push my updates to
That just like blows my mind, because I'm so used to like the muscle memory thing of going into my terminal and doing a git commit, git push. So this is kind of, it's really bending my brain a little bit to watch this.
I love how it has a detailed description as well, right? Like it's updating, the comment here, adding the diagram. Yeah, it really saves time.
Interesting.
Yeah. Looks like I'm running into Git Defender issues. Let's see. So the really cool thing is that it debugs for you as well. So say you run a command and you're running into an issue, it's able to iterate. So I ran into, Git Defender, access issues here, and it ran a command on behalf of myself. Yeah, so.
I think it's probably because our repo is open. Maybe we can just quickly set it to private, and that might fix your problem.
Okay.
We got some more comments here. Let's see. Is an agentic feature, is it possible to create a dynamic tool? I'm not sure what you mean.
In the sense, like, are you asking like if the tool can change the nature of itself all by itself?
What do you think?
No. We should not do that. Shouldn't have dynamic capabilities for a tool. I get to know that, like, I was talking to one of my mentor. He mentioned that like MCP as a server has a new capability. So for example, if you are a tool provider, if you're a tool builder, and your agent is using MCP as a tooling, and if you have built all your tooling using MCP, now if you update MCP, add 2 or 3 more features, add new tools and all of that, MCP can push those notification to your agent saying that, hey, discover new tools, I have added new features to it, right? So that's what MCP as a spec, as a service allows you to do. Your agent can auto discover if you add more and more tools, but I would highly not recommend building terminators, asking it to like build like dynamic tooling. Everything is possible, but auto evolving agents are probably the nightmares. I will probably not sleep after that.
Nice. Someone is asking if the GitHub MCP server will solve our little problem here. I don't think so. I think we have a little security issue we're facing that we're going to fix real quick here.
Yeah, I'm working on making the GitHub repo private. But in the meantime, Devasius, I've shared the architecture diagram with you.
Sure. All right. Let's see.
Cool. Okay.
Let me get that real quick.
A comment from Harry. Harry. Create what the agent needs, then yes, it can technically create its own Python script to achieve the result. Interesting. Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. Someone's up late in India. Hi, how are you?
I'm curious to hear in the comments if anyone's tried QDeveloper or like maybe any sort of AI tools.
All right, I got your file, Ria.
Cool.
Cool.
All right, so we are collaborating on Slack. Not a bad tool, to be very honest. All right, let's take a look at this. Okay, I have the picture. I can go ahead and start the development based on like whatever we have discussed.
Cool.
Sounds good. Should we put your
let's
screen on
share my
stage?
screen and let's start the party.
All right.
All right. So if you see here, I'm just doing a simple. Okay. By the way, I'm not using Q or VS Code. I'm using iTerm. I'm more of a CLI person, so I'm using the terminal. But yes, I will be using Q Developer CLI, which is another flavor of Q. Again, that's what Ria was using in the integrated terminal. But yeah, I'll be using that. So what I will do is like I'll basically take it through an SDLC cycle. So I'll say that, hey, build me a requirement, build me a design document, build me a like implementation plan and all of that. And based on that, like I will ask Q developer to go through the entire iteration, right? And my goal is to create a minimum viable product, like a serverless API at the end of the day that can be basically deployed using an infrastructure as code. We'll not be doing any ClickOps today. So with that, let's fire up QCLI, right? So I'll say QChat. Let's go. Is it visible? Should I zoom in a little bit more? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, a little bit. If you can zoom in a touch, that'd be good.
All right, cool. So I have like a couple of different servers. So because like I was proposing, what do you say, Strands SDK, and I had like a Gradio. There is a UI. Somebody asked for an UI, so I thought like, why not bring in UI MCP server as well? That will allow my Amazon Q to build a UI as well if required. So that's what I did. 2 MCP servers that I will be using in order to build my project. So what I'll say is like I'll start with a very simple prompt saying that, hey, can you look at the picture in the folder and create a requirement document, requirement.md file based on
While Debasis is writing up that prompt here, Bhavish, I see in the comments you've pointed out /model lets you select the different model options. So yeah, that's definitely an option if you want to chat with like Claude 4.0 as well.
So if you see here, like it's automatically reading the image over here, and like it is going to analyze like what is present over there. For example, like we have an API gateway icon, we have a Lambda function icon, and a variety of different things we have over there. So that's what it is doing basically. And based on that, it will create the requirement document for me. I've been a consultant for a major part of my career. So I have been working through SDLC cycle a lot. So I'll create a requirement document. I will build a design document based on that. I'll go to an engineering manager like Micah to validate that requirement document and the design document. And then based on that, I'll create my tasks. Like, let's say, what is my, spec-driven development. That's the new thing. So I'll decide like what are the different tasks that I want to do, and based on that, like my development cycle would go, right? So that's the whole point. If you see over here, when I asked Q to do that particular thing for me, it created like a bunch of different requirements for me. So let's quickly take a look at that, what it generated, right? So it started with API gateway. It has Lambda functions, Strands SDK on Lambda function. Strands is a tool. You see like all of these things here. It also created like some of the non-functional requirement and integration requirement and all of that, right? So this is how you can build your requirement document over here. And I will say that, hey, let's go ahead and write the files, right? So that's what I did. So it is going to write the entire thing. And I'll ask as a next step, I'll ask Amazon Q to build me a design document based on this requirement. So basically, I'm going from a picture and then I'm analyzing as a architecture diagram. To that, I'm going to a requirement document. I'm capturing functional and non-functional requirements. And once I have that ready, if Ria as a product manager wants to take a look at the requirement, whether that meets the required practices or not, or Micah wants to take a look at like whether the engineering practices are followed or not in that particular requirement or non-functional requirement, all of those can be verified right now within the span of like what 15 minutes that we have been interacting with each other. That's the speed of like using AI to build agentic AI or smarter applications, right? That's the whole value propositions over here. So now I'm asking you to build that design document. So I want it to go a bit more in depth, right? What should be my Lambda spec should look like? What should my API look like? How my SAM should be framed? Should it use Open API specific Open API specification, and then Lambda should be in Python and all of that, right? So that's what the detailed design would capture. Little depth in terms of like what we are trying to build. Let's see.
So the basis, while it's working here,
Mhm.
maybe we can take a minute to kind of recap what we've done so far for folks who are just joining, to kind of give everyone a sense of what we're doing. So we started off, we're basically building a serverless application using generative AI tools. Ria, our product manager, took some specs, or took basically a whiteboard sketch from Debasis, fed it into, what was it, Ria? What did you use? MCP server?
Yeah, I used an MCP server, and it basically converted that whiteboard diagram into something that's more official. And then I passed that off to Debasis by just asking, Q to, push it into GitHub. And then Debasis is able to pull it. And then what did you do, Debasis?
Oh, I just asked it to ask, like, I'm just doing vibe coding at this point, right? So I just asked it to break down that picture into a requirement document, and then break down that picture to a design document based on the requirement document, right? So it is iteratively working on top of it. So I'm taking a particular spec, and based on that, I'm evolving my design. So looks like Q is thinking. Let's see, like if it's stuck for some reason. Let's see.
But it makes me think of a couple things, because I love the idea of taking like a whiteboard sketch, turning it into like a cleaned up kind of image or architecture diagram. But you could, extrapolate that to be like an actual whiteboard sketch or a back and napkin kind of, idea that you had, feed that into your MCP server and come out with something like pretty nice really quickly, that Debasis can then kind of work on from there. So that's kind of awesome.
Micah, that kind of brings me to the question, since you're an engineering manager, how much time do you think these AI tools are going to save for developers? Like, I can't imagine.
I think, in my opinion, it's not so much about saving time. It's more about like accelerating what you can do. So I mean, those two things kind of sound like the same thing, but it's not like, okay, I don't have to write like lots of unit tests anymore. I don't have to do all these other things. But instead of doing those things, I can start focusing on building new features, or making something more robust or scalable, or something I haven't kind of gotten to yet. So I think it kind of shrinks that life cycle down quite a bit, and we'll be able to build more quickly, basically.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because it's integrated throughout the whole software development lifecycle, right? Like for someone like me, who might be, a product manager in this role, like I might not be touching code that heavily, but in terms of like designing and the planning phase, it's definitely so helpful. And then moving to you, in terms of like speeding up the development process, it's integratable everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Someone asks, can we see what Q is thinking? Interesting question. I wonder what that would look like. Depending on the tool you're using, sometimes you will get a little bit of feedback. If it's like an agentic tool, as it kind of goes through the steps, you'll see different things happening. But in terms of like what Q is actually thinking, I don't think you can actually put that on, turn that into something tangible. And then we had a question here about some documentation. So Rahul again is asking if we can share some of the guidance on how to use the MCP servers in a production environment. So we'll see if we can find something to throw into the chat here as we go.
Yeah. It's pretty simple to set up, like the MCPs. In terms of a configuration, it's basically like a JSON file where you input, different parameters. So yeah, we can definitely send out some, documentation if someone's interested. There's actually this site called like mcp.so. It's like a open source site where everyone is able to share their MCPs that they've created. Again, you have to check on like in terms of like security, how safe all these tools are. But it's really interesting to see all the different use cases that people have.
Right. Looks like our requirement document is done. And sorry, design document is done. And based on that, let's say, based on the design document, try building the serverless app. Let's see how far it goes there. It's taking a little bit of time today. Let's see.
Interesting.
I wonder why that is.
Yeah.
Tell us about the T button. I know you guys both like the T button. What does that do?
Or one of my colleagues tells named it the YOLO button. So yeah, this is a good thing that I like with the bare bone agents like QCLI, right? So it at least gives you full control of like all the tools that it can use, especially like OS tools, right? So now think about like if you are running on a sudo mode and you have pretty much access to everything on your computer, and if Q as a system is asking you for like a bunch of different permissions to use a particular tool, whether to trust it, not trust it, store it as a trusted tool, and all of that. That is really important. I'm basically allowing Q with this T, Y, or N options to use a particular tool, be it like an operating system tool, be it like a MCP tool that is external to my like Q as well as my operating system. So that's basically the trust, how you delegate your permission to Amazon Q to do a certain task.
Yeah, operates like in a headless mode.
Yep.
Pretty neat.
If you see here, like it automatically created like a Lambda function. It created a template.yaml file as well. And it's created a README file, just like a very good developer. It also created a README file to make sure that the developer who will take over the actual agentic application in future, it's going to give it the right knowledge. It'll pass the right knowledge transfer. That's what we call. It'll also do the knowledge transfer to maintain that application, right? So that's what happened. Now it is also writing some test cases. We have mentioned in the requirement document that, hey, why don't you write some test cases so that we can test it later, right? So that's what Q has done at this point. Finally, it is writing you a deployment script. So we have written our infrastructure in AWS SAM. So SAM needs like a couple of different parameters in order to deploy the application. So it wrote a deploy.sh, a shell script file that is going to basically use SAM commands in order to build and deploy your serverless application.
Yeah, I really like this comment. So using it in your current development to confirm the results of the response, it's like having citations for your response. That's really, really good.
All right, so I think we are at the end of it. There's a test page as well that it built. So for somebody who was asking for like a UI, QCL, I heard you, and it built out a page that can help you test the application. But this is what it did, right? So let's take a look at that.
I think it's pretty cool that you have like one terminal open. Like something else that I've seen a lot of other like builders do is have like 4 different terminals open running like QChat. And then when one is done or completed, then they hop onto the other one, and you're like working at a 4x speed.
Yep. I mean, like that's what I liked with Kiro as well. So Kiro somehow like delegates it to a smaller agent in order to do certain tasks. So I wish like we had more time to show you like how to do a spec development for serverless apps. But I really liked like how Kiro approaches it. It makes this experience, whatever we are doing with Amazon Q and opening multiple different windows and doing all of that a bit more easier. Right? So to quickly summarize what we have done over here, so it created a project structure, scaffolded that project structure for you. Then it created the template.yaml, that is SAM for infrastructure as code. It created deployment automation, created testing, unit testing, and created a documentation. And it also gave me some instruction around like, hey, if you want to go ahead and deploy your application, this is what you need to do, right? So go ahead and .deploy.sh. That's going to build and deploy my entire SAM application. With that, let me quickly try to what do you say, like check in this code into GitHub repository. Let's see, like if I'll be lucky enough to do that.
I changed it to a private repo, so I was able
work,
to. Yeah, it works for me now. So
cool. So let's see. It's in Coffee Shop Finder. I'll say like, let me see if I have it in the right folder. Coffee Shop Finder. Let's drag and drop it to.
So I see a comment that says, I don't think QCLI is available for Windows. There is a way that you can install QCLI through WSL. So there is a guide that's online. And if you don't, if you could also use Kiro, our agentic IDE that's available. So if that's easier, you could use that. Everything that we're doing today, you can do within Kiro too.
I just went into like a terminal mode to copy some of those into the repo, the blank repo that we created. So let's say check the files and do the GitHub repo. Let's see. Meanwhile, in the background, I'll try to deploy the application. Let's see like how it goes.
Nice.
Seems to be working.
Yep.
All right, let me see if it's. Oh, no, it didn't work. I think to bust this, you have to accept your invitation. I'm gonna give you the link here. So if you do that and try again, I think it might be what you need to do.
All right. I'll stop it. I'll say try again. I just accepted the invite. Let's do it one more time.
I see a comment that says, love Strands Agents SDK.
Absolutely.
Kiro should add your path on Windows so you can use via terminal. It does on Mac anyway. Okay, good to know. Or is it having any more success this time?
It's trying to push it. Okay. Interesting. Oh,
you're pointing it to your own like fork, I think. So maybe that's the problem. The remote says like your own GitHub account.
Let me see if I can fix this one real quick. Git remote. Oh, no. Oh, I copied the wrong Git rip. All right, let's try this. Let's do it. And now git push origin main. I'm just vibe coding at this point. No, it still doesn't allow me to do it.
Oh,
Try this.
Oh yeah, up. I see that. What happened here? Should I use your most likely AWS?
Oh yeah, that's what it is.
Yep. All right.
Cool.
Yep.
Let's see what happened. I know what you need to do. You need to fetch what's currently up there. So to get poll origin main.
Also, you're outside the Q CLI, so
Yep.
you could also just ask Q to do the fetch in the pool.
Let's see.
So now you just need to do that one of those. So git config to that first line there that says merge.
Rebase.
Yeah, just do that and see if that'll work. And then try pushing now.
Push. No.
Yep.
Let's see. Nope.
Oh man. Let's see.
Git pull.
Yes, do that.
No. That's fine. I'll figure it out. That's okay.
Okay.
All right. Quick, in order to show like how would it look like in case like if you build and deploy your application. I anticipated a little bit of like problem with the UI. So I created a UI already to showcase you like how does the experience would look like. Right. So let me quickly pull that out for you here. So let me know if you can see my screen. So
Yep.
can you see it here?
Mhm.
So if you see here, somebody was asking about like a quick UI on how it would look like. And this is how it looks like right now. So when you deploy your application with API Gateway, we got the SAM template entirely. So when you deploy it with SAM template, deploy that deploy.sh file, it's going to create a endpoint URL that is going to be the API Gateway endpoint URL. I created this simple chatbot using a framework called Gradio. That's the MCP server that you were seeing on my Q chat at that time. That will help you build this entire chatbot within like a minute or two, not too much. And once you hook in this particular API gateway URL into your chatbot, now you can ask it like variety of different natural language questions, right? So for example, if I ask it like, hey, find me coffee shops near Pike Place Market, Seattle, right? So based on that, like it is going to like fetch out all this information for me. It's going to take a little bit of time. If you see here, like probably as an engineer manager, Mike, I would be like not too happy with the performance, how it looks like. But remember that we're building just an MVP, and based on that, we'll see like how this particular chatbot is responding. If it goes beyond 29 seconds, API Gateway will probably time out and throw an error. So let's see how it works. Interesting. Let's stop it here. Try it one more time. Coffee shop near Manhattan, New York.
Can we zoom it in just a little bit?
Sure.
Thanks.
We've got some folks in the chat trying to help us with our Git problems, but I think we're gonna pivot a little bit, try something else here in a minute, which is totally fine. But thanks for that. The Git reset hard, I think that might have worked. We'll see.
Yeah. Nope. Looks like this API is not working as well. I need to figure out like what's going on in that.
Someone highlighted you can use CLI with Windows. That's correct.
All right. I'll stop here real quick, this particular agent, and I'll see like if I can fix the GitHub problem.
Cool. While you're doing that, I'm gonna show a couple things, if you don't mind. So I'm gonna take over here for a second. This is our repo. There's not a lot in here at the moment, but we'll get there. But what's interesting is that you have QDeveloper now in VS Code. You have QDeveloper on the command line, but you also have QDeveloper in GitHub, which is currently a public preview. And so you can do some pretty interesting things with QDeveloper right from within GitHub. And so as like an engineering manager, this is kind of awesome because I can do things like I can create feature issues, or I can make pull requests and have them get reviewed, all sorts of stuff kind of automatically in the background. So there's no code in here at the moment. There's just the diagram that that Ria had created. But why don't we try let's just try something. Let's see if let's give it a, let's say create a README file that describes this repo. Now there's not a whole lot to go on, but let's see if it can come up with something, and I'll put this in the description as well. And all you need to do is, once you've kind of set up QDeveloper in GitHub, is you just go over to this label, click on this agent, and then create the issue.
I saw there was an option for transform as well, Micah. So you can, it looks like you can do the dev agent, but then what was the other option?
Yeah, there's like a transform agent, so that can help you with like, moving from one Java version to another. I don't know the specific details of what you can and can't do there, but that's the idea, is that eventually you'll be able to do some transform type of actions here as well.
Yep. Like
mainframe
and legacy applications as well.
Yeah. So you can see QDeveloper agent has already started working on my requirements here, which is basically just make a README file. But while we let that kind of cook, I have actually done this before on another project here. And so this one was really simple too, just adds a config command to a project that I was working on. I added the Q developer agent here, and it kind of took over. It did exactly the same thing. It started to review my pull request for security vulnerabilities and code quality issues, but it also started kind of going through all the code and pointing out things that I hadn't seen yet or I hadn't noticed. It got pretty verbose, all sorts of ways to fix things, and it kind of did a full code review of that pull request. So it's pretty powerful tool once you kind of get to know how it works. Let's see what this is doing over here. Okay, so it's going to help me create a README file. It's going to explore the repository. There's just a diagram in there at the moment. We'll see what it does with that. No obvious code files. Okay, so it can't read the picture. So it's really trying to figure out what this empty repository is all about. Let's see what it comes up with.
That's pretty neat that you can assign like the dev agent to complete like any sort of task.
Yeah, so you can assign it to just create an issue and ask it to work on that issue. So if you want to create like a new feature, that's what you do there. But also if someone submits a pull request, it'll automatically start doing like a security scan of that pull request. But you can also have it help you go through the review process. So if you're the engineering manager, you can go into a pull request that Debasis has submitted and do your own human review of each commit or whatever you want to do, but then get QDeveloper to kind of give you some feedback on your review as you kind of go through it. So let's see here. Okay, so it did it. It created a README that describes this repo. I think it's done. Let's see if it's actually done that. I don't see the, it's created a pull request for me. Okay, so here it is. So it went through, it created a README file and submitted a pull request. And it's kind of nice. Like it gives you a full rundown of what this PR is all about. It references the initial issue. It gives you a little hint about how to review this. So to provide feedback, it wants you to leave inline comments and kind of go through it step by step. So I can show you that in a second here. It has some conflicts with the main branch, of course, because our repo is a little wonky. Let's see what it actually created here. So if we go to files changed.
I also saw that it was looking at security vulnerabilities and like code quality things too.
Exactly. So here's what it created. It created a README file with basically just some minimal information, kind of basically like a template. And then what I can do is if I want to review this, I can do, actually, let me go back here.
By the way, I was able to fix the Git issue, and now you will
okay.
see all the files in there.
Let's see if I go back here. Okay, great. So now we have all the files in here. And so I can, let's see, in this template YAML file, right? So, okay, so here's an issue I see. So our memory size for our Lambda function is only 256. That's not going to be that ideal. So what I can do is I can go back to issues and create a new one. Let's upgrade our Lambda memory setting to 1024. I'm not going to give it much more than that. Like I could tell it what file to look through to find that setting, but let's just see if I can figure it out. So I'm going to assign that same label and create the issue. It's the same thing. So now it's doing this this workflow in the background, and I can go have some coffee.
So while that's loading, I did see this question a few times pop up. If it's possible to summarize screenshots and attachments through MCP. Yeah, so like for example, I mean that's exactly what I did, right? Like I had a screenshot of the whiteboard diagram that Debasis created, and I asked the MCP to summarize and generate a diagram. But say you're looking outside of the diagram use case, you're just looking at regular images or PDFs or files like that. You can ask the Q chat itself to like analyze it. Like you don't even need an MCP for that. But there are MCPs available too. But you could directly just ask Q chat, what are these diagrams or what are these screenshots? Summarize it.
Nice. Well, we're almost up at the top of the hour here, or the half hour rather. So I think we should probably wrap up while this is working in the background.
Yeah. As we wrap up, I'm just pasting this question here. How much time do you think AI tools will save you? I'm curious. Any thoughts on that? And this is a monthly series that we've set up here. So please tune in next month as well. We'll have like a different topic, especially as the pace of innovation in GenAI is rapidly changing. Things are moving so fast. So we definitely wanted to start this Twitch series to keep up with the new things that are coming out. And if anyone's in the New York City area or even wants to tune in tomorrow, Swami is going to be, presenting at a keynote, and that's something that you can tune into the live stream. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, look, we can see it found the memory setting in our SAM template. So it's adjusting that now. I think it's going to make it there. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Debasis, for helping us build today.
I wish the Git was like I could solve it like real quick, but yeah, that's what it is. Demo gods were not in favor of us, but next time we'll do it.
It was excellent. Thanks, Debasis. And thank you everyone for tuning in. See you next month.
All right. Take care.
Thanks all.